Welcome back, KDL fans. We have one series left for you guys tonight. We're going to jump right into it here. It is KWANGDONG Freaks up against ShowTime. Let's introduce the Freaks, the defending Preseason 1 champions, to the stage. They have looked so good so far here, even in Preseason 2, keeping that undefeated record.
Yeah, one of the few undefeated teams here in KDL Preseason 2, looking to build on that lead as they face ShowTime, who, you know, not to mince words, they have been struggling so far, and now they're up against Goliaths. And a notable thing you might want to pay attention to here is they're at the bottom. We've talked about this a lot in the past, how the Freaks, they're so confident in their speed ability that they always say they have 1 speed ace and 3 runners. Now they're so confident, not just in their speed, but also in their item mode.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we have 1 ace and 3 hybrid players now, so.
Yeah. I mean, they're just so dominant. Now, I mean, this is a team full of players who are trying to make a name for themselves, right? Rookies who haven't found much success yet in the early days of Cartwright Drift. FaZe, Ghost, Monster, and Flare, right? These are players who, you know, are trying to figure it out still as we're going. Fran being the item ace, of course, who will come out once we get to our second mode here. But it's still a full-fledged 5-man roster. They still have the item ace, right? It's an amateur team in every sense of it, but I think that they've worked hard to get here, and now they have to prove themselves. And it's kind of a dream, I think, of a lot of amateur Cartwright pros who get to qualify to play against strong teams like KWANGDONG, right? To play against players like World and Cool, who are legends. Spear, who's really had such a great year too, and then Sungbin here in our speed mode. And KWANGDONG Freaks, they overcame their crisis, the first victory in item match. They had prayed to the item gods, and their prayers were answered.
That's right, and although they only have one item match so far, their round win rate, not that bad. 6 wins, 7 losses, so certainly staying at least within the median here, as their schedule hasn't been the easiest. Facing off against Aura before was complicated, and we're prepared a lot because we heard that you guys are pro team slayers, so a little bit of tongue-in-cheek is ShowTime has been anything but here in the KDL Preseason 2. They did look quite good in the preliminaries to get here. I mean, even qualifying for this thing shows that you have a lot of skill, you have a lot of potential, your ceiling is high, but they just haven't really been able to put it together on stage as of yet.
Yeah, but now it's ShowTime, right? Now you gotta show up. Now you gotta actually make this happen, right? And you know, you can get here, and that's one thing, and we can celebrate that with these players who haven't shown that much, but you know, they're focusing on item matches here, as they say, which is, I think, a wise choice against KWANGDONG Freaks here. But you're going to have to pull it off, you know, if you want to prove that you can hang with the best. And if you can't, that's okay, because it's a regular season where you're going to have a lot more chances. We're only halfway through. Oh, man.
ShowTime will be the item master. Aura that beats Seraphic, that beat the KWANGDONG Freaks that beat Aura.
The circle of...
This reminds me of...
Circle of life.
This reminds me of, I think, like the very old like RTS days where it's like, okay, this player's actually the world champion because they beat this player who beat this player who beat this player who beat this player who beat the world champion 9 months ago.
Good old TeamLiquid.net unofficial world championship thread. Yes,
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly what I was talking about here. As we look at the speed track list, KWANGDONG Freaks taking priority here in speed mode. They will have 3 out of the 5 picks, choosing Factory Facility 5. Interesting is track number 1.
Yeah.
Don't see that one too often. And ShowTime.
Twice today we're going to see it.
And ShowTime, no surprise they're choosing World Tour New York Rally and Boom Hill Tunnel for round number 2 and round number 4. Those are some of the more simpler tracks here, as you know, mechanically their skills don't quite line up against the Freaks here in speed mode. As it's a David versus Goliath story. Should they be able to overcome? Let's find out as we get ready to head to track number 1. It will be Factory Facility 5. Oh, never mind.
We have an audio issue, but it will be resolved shortly. We will be going to Factory Facility 5, but we started the race.
Yeah, I think they're testing maybe audio issue. Yeah, they're ending the race that we have right now on the monitors. Is everyone's just making sure they get their settings right.
Yeah, not all players might have been informed right away.
Oh, that's also possible, yeah.
So that I saw Ghost was hard pushing and cutting, so I think the ShowTime players did not know that there was an audio issue. It looks like it's actually Cools here.
I'm just imagining ShowTime getting in the race like, we're really doing it, guys. Look at how far of a lead we have here right out of the gates. But no, we got to restart once again.
Yeah, it's really easy to get people back in the lobby. With the way the client is set up, it's actually pretty much instant. So once the audio issue is resolved, we'll be right back into the action.
Yeah, look at the headsets. It might be it might be a white noise filter issue. This does happen sometimes.
Yeah, so it looks like...
Oh, it comms.
Yeah.
Testing the microphone.
Making sure that those cables were fully connected. Looks like maybe the headphone part wasn't actually fully inserted properly, just based on what we saw visually there.
Yeah. It's always one of my nightmares. Here's the casters. Is we also have those cables right below our desks.
Yep. Don't kick those.
God
don't
forbid.
touch those. Don't yoink those.
God forbid one of those becomes unplugged. But I think we should be getting back into Factory Facility 5 shortly here, as I am amped to get this one started, man. I mean, ShowTime, although they have had a rough go of things so far, they got a lot of potential. If they want to beat the KWANGDONGFREECS, it's going to start here on Factory Facility 5, as once again we're doing the intro. Track number 1, let's get to it.
Here we go, off the gates here. ShowTime challenging defending Preseason 1 champions, KWANGDONGFREECS. KWANGDONG have been so famous for getting great starts here and having 1-2-3 or 1-2-4 out of the gates, but ShowTime actually making it a little bit tough this time around on the single lap track. Not only is this track single lap, but it's also a fairly short track, and you know, the last moments are where really the action happens on those hairpin turns, as we saw in our previous series, so keep an eye for that.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of time really for Spear and Cool to try and close the distance, although Sungmin was able to work his way to first place, and I'm not actually sure what happened there for ShowTime, but Ghost and Cool did fall back, or Ghost and FaZe, excuse me, did fall back a little bit now, and now it's actually Sungmin leading the charge by a pretty wide margin, and Cool, look at this guy just go!
Yeah, he is going as quickly as he can. The defense here leaving us a little bit wanting here for ShowTime. Monster trying his best, but unsuccessful. And now you're just seeing the experience of the veterans here in Sungmin and Cool as they just run in circles around ShowTime. And it was such a great start, too. And now they have no angle on those hairpin turns. I mean, that was really the best opportunity you were going to have, is ShowTime to catch back up. One more chance here, but it's a 1-2-3 FaZe trying his best, but just cannot break through at all. And, oh, collision there as well. And this is just going to be a dominant first track here for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, ShowTime, they had a good start there at the beginning of the track, but we're unable to hold on, as you could perhaps see some of the logic for KWANGDONGFREECS in choosing Facility 5 as track number 1, as once we got into those more technical portions, you could see the builds that the KWANGDONGFREECS had prepared, in particular Cool there, with that inner line on a couple of subsequent turns, able to supplant the player there from ShowTime, and the momentum just shifted so hard. And on top of that also, when we had some of those very difficult angles of attack coming through, ShowTime, many of those players, they had collisions, they floundered, and
yeah,
that allowed the Freeks to consolidate their position there at the top. 1-2-3 finish.
I think you've got to be way better at defense when you get a lead like that against a team like KWANGDONGFREECS, because you're so lucky to even have that chance, right, as ShowTime, to have that advantage, but then to not be able to hold on to your lead, even though you had all of the tools to do so, just showcases that there's still a lot of improvement that can be made here. And, you know, it feels a little bit sad to frame this series this way, but it is definitely, you know, one of our strongest teams, if not our strongest, versus one of our weakest. And we're going to have to see some improvement. We'll watch this one more time. You could see this is where things start to go wrong here. Cool takes that aggressive inner, forces a collision, recovers perfectly, and then Ghost has a little bit of a rough time recovering off of that jump, then hits this collision as Cool pushes him across. And
that whole series of turns there by Cool was perfectly navigated. He couldn't have threaded the line any better. And ShowTime, you could see them struggling to try to keep up with them, and it just created so many problems for them in the middle of the pack, as KDF able to deliver a dominating win in track number 1. Will they be able to ride this momentum and flex their muscles again here on track number 2? Let's go to World Tour New York Rally. Off we go in track number 2, Freeks up 1-0 and off to a better start than last time as well, with Cool already in the lead.
Yeah, World also completely uncontested here. You could just see that he's got free reign on that outer there. He's just able to draft and then push through as they're focusing so hard on the attack, ShowTime are, but the defense has again left us a little bit questioning, you know, how much preparation has gone into speed. It might just be all of the item mode that we're seeing as KWANGDONG with a massive lead here. And you can see ShowTime actually taking control for a brief moment here, but let's see if they can defend. As you could just see, man, it's temporary advantages here, but the pack of KWANGDONG is pushing through much cleaner. Now, Flair's up here. This is the best showing we've seen from him so far in our first 2 tracks. So let's see if they can maintain this 1-2. Now we're seeing some defensive play. FaZe actually blocking out the KWANGDONG players here for a long time. Maybe there's an angle.
Yeah, I'm liking what we're seeing out of ShowTime right now with Flair and FaZe trying to do a little bit of sweeping here on World and Cool, but Cool just so fast, trying to find that line. Ghost playing some nice defense, able to zone him out for now. Cool does go for the inner and actually was able to go on the outer after that. So Ghost does get supplanted, and now it's Cool playing defense, and actually Ghost able to pass him.
This is looking good for ShowTime right now. I mean, right now it's only Cool who's really contesting. Flair and FaZe doing a great job sweeping. Sungbin, though, he's making a late pass for it here. And this is when you have to be so clean as Ghost and Flair. You got to hold those 1-2s.
Cool went for the attack, but Flair was able to recover. And now Sungbin in second place. That will not be enough as Ghost is in first. Flair actually with a 1-2 finish. ShowTime did a fantastic job there on the second portion of this track. You could see that on the map of their choice, they had a much better build prepared. And that's one of their better speed wins of the season so far here in track number 2 against the Freaks. I mean, a 1-2 finish.
That is honestly one of the best we've seen from ShowTime this season. I agree with you. And the defensive play we saw from Flair and FaZe was actually, it was there. Like, it happened. They actually did hold on to their lead. And there was a moment in the first third of the lap where I was watching going, okay, they're ahead. But the setup looks weak. It looks like it's going to be really easy for KWANGDONG when the map opens back up, when the track goes to one of the wider sections about halfway through. They're actually going to be able to take the outer and just pass as 3. It looked like 3 KWANGDONG Freaks players were just going to rocket into top 3. And then we saw they were able to control that before we got to the wider part. Then Flair and FaZe actually blocked extremely well there in the later parts. And then KWANGDONG, they had that late run. Sungbin was trying to push through, but they just could not do it. The lead was too massive. And ShowTime, I didn't expect that in speed we were going to see them take a single track, if I'm honest, but they already did. We're tied up.
Yeah, we are tied up now 1-1. ShowTime getting on the board. Would love to see if they can continue to fight back against KWANGDONG Freaks. David versus Goliath here as we head to Forest Zigzag Timberland for track number 3.
Off we go on Zigzag Timberland, and this is a real test of your abilities here because it's not. This one is not as much team-oriented as it is just straight-up raw mechanics, which I think doesn't favor ShowTime necessarily, but it means that if they get a lead, they can showcase how skilled they are, even though they are very new players, at holding on to it through some of these crazy zigzags. The Spear currently in first place, but Flair and Ghost hot on his heels.
Yeah, ShowTime is doing a great job of contesting this one with Ghost actually able to work his way into first. Spear and World are contesting him. Ghost actually boxing out them both for a consistent amount of time. But just watch as Flair, Monster, and FaZe continue to fall back right now. It's a 1 versus 4 with Ghost in 4th place and all of the Freaks right behind him. I'm not sure how much longer he can hold on.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough here as Ghost is now trying to come in. Oh, he's boxed out, then collides with the railing there, and now it's Flair who's really the last man standing here. Ghost pushed so far back. It's Spear. You put Spear in 3rd place with a 1-2. He is the best sweeper in KDL, in my opinion. No one is getting past this guy without a heavy cost. Paying a price, as Flair did there with that collision. Spear passes him again, and he's just going to make your chances basically 0 as we move to the final lap here. Knows how much of a gap Cool and Spear have actually given the top front runners here, Sungbin and World. And it's Cool once again just going to take this inner, block Ghost out. Spear's behind him now, and they're making his life miserable, to be totally honest.
Yeah, Spear went for a big attack there on Ghost, was unable to get it, but Cool able to manifest that a little bit. Ghost did pass him for just a moment, but Cool was able to pass him himself. And look at these problems getting created. I mean, Ghost and Flair and FaZe, they have not been able to gain any ground at all. Looking at the mini-map on the right side of the picture-in-picture, World and Sungbin are just running away with this thing, drafting off of each other. This is the easiest 1-2 the Freaks are going to get.
Sungbin's on like track record pace here. It might actually be World who gets it because they have been so uncontested here, and they are just flying through this. Look at Sungbin in picture-in-picture here. He is just completely maxing out his speed here. no one to contest him, and even with World dropping back here, he has no fear of colliding even with his teammate, man. He's playing time trial right now, 500 meters to go as Ghost, trying his best, but this is just too much of a lead.
Yeah, Ghost was able to close the distance a little bit, but the sweeping in from Spear and Cool just consolidating the top of the position there. World and Sungbin deliver the win with a 1-2, and I mean, you talk about the raw mechanics that comes into playing on a track like Zigzag and Saberland, and I feel like this map, or this track especially here, with the Freaks against ShowTime showcased exactly that, where a team that frankly it feels like they have 4 speed aces on the Freaks that can play positionless kart rider, that can sweep when they need to, can be middle when they need to, can run when they need to, play that one to perfection, and it was just a clinic.
They didn't break the track record, but what I found most impressive, of course, was Spear and Cool, how they defended, because what they did was they both continually swapped positions over and over and over again, where the player in third would attack, sacrifice himself, and collide with 2, then drop back. Then the player who was behind, say Spear was the first to do that, then Cool pulls ahead of him. He does the same thing, and they continually rotate until there's just no chance of catching up.
The synergy on the Freaks is something to behold here as we're looking to see if they can deliver a 3-1 win here in speed mode as we move on to track number 4, Village Boom Hill Tunnel. Kwangdong Freeks just one track win away from sending us to item mode here against ShowTime. Cool. And Cool, man, he is so good.
He's like styling on him. He's like 1v4ing them, building better nitro, and using that long body of his kart to its fullest potential, just right out of the gate. Just such a master of kart rider drift. Yeah, look at him go.
Something absolutely special here.
He's living up to his name.
Yeah, for sure, man. No CZZ this time. He's not sleeping at the wheel. Cool is just a monster in the box as ShowTime's doing their best to try and close the distance, but once again, Spear up here in the top ranks will be in the collisions as Monster, you see him lose so much momentum there from that attack by Spear, and that's going to allow Sungmin to shore up the flank and create even more problems.
Oh man, and Ghost and Monster continuing to collide with each other here, unfortunately, allows Sungbin to actually pull ahead. He'll even absorb that and pull further ahead. Now Ghost decides he's going to take a bit of a weird build to the side here to avoid all of those collisions. He will be able to push his way into third place with FaZe, but the gap between him and Spear is quite immense, and we talked about it so many times, but Spear's defense is insane. Good luck catching up to him, first of all, and then passing him, forget about it. It's going to be a 1-2 here for Kwangdong Freeks, despite Ghost's efforts alone to disrupt that 1-2. And that is going to be speed mode going over. We'll give credit to ShowTime taking a track is more than we expected. In that second track, they looked very clean, held their advantages, but the lack of experience shows here. And this is how you get experience, by the way, as it turns out. So definitely a great experience for them. And item mode, they said, was going to be their focus. Is cool. With that insane start, we'll actually set a new track record here at sub 116.
Yeah, great racing there by the Freaks. And I mean, both in track number 3 and track number 4, the sweeping there in the middle ranks was so good it felt like the Freaks could just run away with it, whoever they had in the 1-2 spot, as we get ready to move on to item mode. But yeah, credit where credit is due to ShowTime. I was fully expecting a 3-0 sweep, and that's not really just a knock on ShowTime. It's a testament to how good the Freaks have been in speed mode throughout the KDL. These guys are titans of the game, and ShowTime coming into today, they had only won 2 tracks in speed in 3 sets in total. So although they did lose 1-3, I mean, taking a track against the Freaks of all teams has got to be a confidence booster. It's a young team. They're improving constantly. And even in the interview heading into the match, they said their focus is going to be here on item mode. And let's see what they have prepared. You know, they might have some tricks up their sleeves, and maybe they can force an ace match.
I mean, you mentioned tricks up their sleeves. We are going to see Clock Tower Crossing if we go to 5 rounds here. So that's a very unusual track pick here for the side of ShowTime. And then they'll send us to London Night and Brody's Gloom. So Brody's Gloom also, since Preseason 1, we're seeing way less of. And then you see the London Night pick coming through here. It makes me feel like ShowTime have some specific finish timing strategies, like Preseason 1 type strategies with Magnet Rush, for example, or one of those defensive setups where you hold Angel, push that one player with double Nitro like we saw from Tech earlier today. That's my guess here based on the track list.
I think that's especially true for World Tour London Night, as we've seen those finish-first focused strategies work quite well on that thus far, and we'll see if that can come to fruition here for ShowTime, as they need to win 3 tracks here in item mode to force a pivotal ace match against the Freaks. Let's go into track 1 of the final match of the night on World Tour London Night. And off we go. Item mode starts now, and the pressure is on here for ShowTime to get on the board with a win and try to force an ace match.
Really unique setup here on his cart. Character very rarely seen.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure which character that is, to be honest. That's my cart raider knowledge failing me.
Yeah, the characters are one of those things that I don't actually know quite well.
I know a lot of them, but I don't know that one actually. Like I know Dow, of course. I know Bazzy, who's the best. And I mean, I don't know which character that is, but either way, looks very cool, very rare to see. As we just see Brody here, piloted by FaZe, pushing through. Know that character too.
I gotta say, by the way, one thing that we haven't really been able to touch on, or really decided in Exciting Cast opening weekend here at KDL Preseason 2, is I'm loving the new diversity that we're seeing in the cart bodies here at the KDL Preseason since the rebalance of the hitboxes, because before it was just minecart all the time. Occasionally we would see the New York City tour bus, but the minecart with its small hitbox was just so good at taking those tight lines. It's poor FaZe. Drops all the way down to the 8th place, but I'm loving the combinations of cards.
Yeah,
we're seeing
a lot more diversity for sure, and I do like to see that. As Monster here going to shield this as we do. Let's take stock of these items for a moment, because Spear actually is holding on to a Lightning here, but there's not a whole lot of other setups here for the side of KWANGDONG Freaks. Okay, I say that Sungbin gets the 2nd Lightning now.
Yeah, Freaks with 2 Lightnings, and World right now actually in 4th place, not far off from 1st place with double Nitrous in the bag.
So they're actually the ones to use the strategy we saw from Aria earlier, not ShowTime. I mean, part of this, of course, the luck of the draw for the items they have, but they have an opportunity here. World used one of those Nitros, now has a shield, as you could put the Lightning player up early. World absorbs this UFO. Now you've got Sungbin who could take some aggro, then use Lightning here on this final push.
Yeah, Monster still has 2 shields, but no speed items in the bag. Just 1 shield left. That one does get popped, as now World is in 1st place.
Cool, trying to push through. This is so close right now. Monster caught with this one. Cool. UFO's gonna hit him, but World's pushing for the win, and he will take it.
Man, it felt like maybe 100 meters from the finish line, both teams completely ran out of steam in terms of items, and I was looking at the item list there on the left side, like, okay, what's the next play going to be? Because with our Observer UI, we can only really see the first couple of racers in the lead, and it actually just was the Freaks with a lot of manpower there in the mid-ranks, able to work their way into the finish. I think that might have even been a 1-2-3 finish there for them. 1-2 finish, in fact, there for the Freaks, of course. And item mode, it really is just all about whoever crosses the finish line first, but the KWANGDONG Freaks showing some nice strength there. As we talked about this earlier on London Night, how there really isn't a lot of opportunity to cycle through items, especially in the later section of that track, and KWANGDONG Freaks just getting a little bit of a better draw.
Yeah, we'll take a look at this replay again too, because Lightning was used early. FaZe gets knocked back, so really it's only Monster who can contest. Oh, that was actually earlier on. Yeah, this is the final moment. Is World actually, despite getting caught up in the Ferris wheel, it's these Lightnings coming through. Cool eats that UFO, which is massive, but I mean, they just had such a numbers advantage. Fraun was the only one up there, not Monster, my bad.
Yeah, it's so funny to me that World, the one who fell through the Ferris wheel, is the one that crossed the finish line first. Oh,
it's just how item mode goes sometimes, you know, but they had a big numbers advantage. They have a numbers advantage in this series now as well. We'll see if they can take it to 2-0 as it moves to Factory Cogwheel Crush. Here we go, Factory Cogwheel Crush, the 2nd track here in item mode, the choice of KWANGDONG Freaks. And it's ShowTime, at least at the very beginning of this first lap, to take the lead.
Watching the picture-in-picture here for the KWANGDONG Freaks, and man, they were laughing so much here at the start. I'm not sure what joke was going on with them, but feeling in good spirits here as we enter track number 2. Freaks already up 1-0 right now, and a pretty good start here as well.
Yeah, Sungbin is cracking up.
I don't know what's going on with Sungbin, man.
They're having a good time, and you love to see it. Efron takes first place and has got the EMP. It's the best place to have an EMP is in first place, so if he does get UFO'd, he can just deter that one right away. Now he's got a shield. So this is an opportunity for Fron to play that solo style where he gets a lot of resources and just pushes further ahead, but they don't have the lead, I think, required.
He's actually emoting a little bit there as his body block of Sungbin was not able to manifest. Now both racers coming in through the speed boost as they will close the distance here on Fron, who maintains first place just for a moment there. And FaZe actually with some insane body block. That was almost a full-on pit stop there.
Yeah, and Fron losing control of first place, ran out of items there, and now, I mean, you've got these players up here in the front, but Spear with the double lightning here is ideal because he's going to now be the punching bag, but also the slowdown. And if you can get any players here to stack some nitros or magnets, you feel really good about your position here as Kwangdong Freaks.
Yeah, any aggro that Spear can pull here, holding onto those double lightnings is just going to be gold for the Kwangdong Freaks as we want the sensation, or ShowTime, excuse me, is SST and ST. Still confuses me sometimes, man, as ShowTime is kind of struggling to really put some attacks together. And Spear right now, yeah, absorbing these attacks. Water Wisp comes in. Actually, 2 of them there on Spear. Those are wasted attacks here as he's holding on to these 2 lightnings. He's playing a support role.
Yeah, he's not going to be the front runner. Now, the lead here in terms of players definitely goes to ShowTime right now, and sometimes lightning alone isn't going to be enough. World only holding a magnet. He wishes he had a nitro here as well. Let's see what he picks up in this box. It's going to be critical. Oh, UFO EMP is not what he wanted, and I think we're going to need to see those lightnings come out here pretty soon as Sungbin is trying to push forward. You've got Angel here, but item advantage and place advantage definitely to ShowTime, but World...
Ooh. Lightnings pop, but Angel shields are able to deflect it in front right now on the low ground. Oh, the UFO! The UFO comes in, and World celebrates as Kwangdong Freaks pick up track number 2.
Oh, the
that
timing.
Was a clutch UFO.
The timing, they pick up the UFO at the last possible second and use it during that interim when Fron takes first, because I thought for sure ShowTime is going to take this just by war of attrition because, yeah, you've got those lightnings, but somebody's going to block, somebody's going to push through. They just had too many members there in the top 4. It was basically 3-1 with World trying to come through. I mean, you could see it in the placements here, but that one UFO, I think coming from Spear, I'm not 100% sure, but that was what did them in, and they are able to close it out in the end. Fron, man, so close yet so far. And now we are on match point here. Kwangdong Freaks might take this one 6-1. It would be nice to pick up +5 here with a 2-0 victory, but it's now the track selection of ShowTime and Factory Brody's Gloom. See if they can bring us back to start a potential reverse sweep here. Has to start now if it's going to happen at all.
Yeah, their plan coming into today against the Kwangdong Freaks was, take the L there in speed mode. The Freaks are one of the hardest teams to beat in team speed and come through with a win and item, but here they are down 0-2, fighting for their life against the Kwangdong Freaks as we go to their map choice. For track number 3, it will be Factory Brody's Gloom. Potentially the final track of the night is the Freaks are looking to pick up +5 in round differential with a 3-1 win in speed and potentially a 3-0 win here in item. Cool off to a great start. Some attacks coming in there on Fron as he is the punching bag here, getting ready to go on Brody's Gloom.
Yeah, Sungbin here hugging the left side to try to avoid any water balloons here. As you can see, that's a very important strategy as Monster is going to eat some damage here. And now Sungbin has a pretty nice lead. He was bullied right out of the start, but actually is able to avoid taking too much of a delay, picks up the item off that first box, and has just kind of let everyone else fight each other while he pulls ahead. Now has 2 shields, and this is sometimes what you're looking for here. We don't see the strategy all the times, and Kwangdong Freaks have kind of been opposed to it here. But if you have a lead that's as big as this, I mean, look at how far Flare is away from everybody else, and then look at how far then Sungbin is further away. He's used both of his shields now, is going to eat that EMP. I mean, maybe there's a world where he actually has that lead as all the barricade combo.
Barricade plus banana combo there is finally, I think, that UFO will connect with Sungbin. Actually, it might not have, as it looks like he was continuing right out of the gate, and he just holds on to 2 more shields. So the attacks for ShowTime just have not been able to connect here onto Sungbin as he continues to build his lead, looking at the picture-in-picture.
So this is true, and it is only a 2-lap track, but at the same time, you've got a magnet here. You have the numbers advantage as ShowTime. I actually really like their position here. There's just not a whole lot. They're out of steam now, KWANGDONGFREECS, putting everything in the Sungbin basket. It's still winnable, but it definitely feels like a massive advantage.
Sungbin got stamped right there.
This is not the Cogwheel Crush, it's Brody's Gloom, the Crush.
Yeah, man. All right.
Cool.
Cool coming in with the attack. That shield a little bit early, but was able to last long enough to deflect the Water Wisp. One more shield does get popped. Actually, face picking up another one there. And finish line only 500 meters away. Flare now with a lot of speed comes in. UFO does get popped. Actually does hit the barricade. So now it's up to FaZe here for ShowTime, but the water balloon connects.
No way. Lightning slowing them down.
Oh, the lightning slows them down just enough for Fran to spread the needle and put ShowTime on the board. I can't believe it, as I thought for sure the KWANGDONGFREECS were going to be able to deliver that win. You can see ShowTime. I'm not sure exactly who that was.
That was Fran, man. He's like, oh, thank God. Yes. That was so close.
That was insane, as it felt like the Freaks had so much invested and having one player just race away with it, that once ShowTime, using that magnet there as the great equalizer, we're able to get back into the thick of things.
But, I mean, watch I hope we get the replay of this, because 2 critical barricades just ruined ShowTime, and I think it's nerves. I think they're feeling the excitement of like, oh my God, okay, we might actually win this one. The reverse sweep is possible. We could do this. And then bam, hit a barricade. Another barricade comes up. Like, barricade is one of the most useless items actually usually in the final stretch, because it's very transparent, very easy. Very easy to dodge, but they actually crash into 2 of them that don't have any shields, and then it's actually the lightning there that comes through as Bubble hits here, and then Sungbin with the lightning on top of him. This lightning actually saves ShowTime. Fran passes both of them. They were both like sub 10 meters away from that checkered flag. You see the audience reaction here is insane. KWANGDONGFREECS fan watching on, as they will not be getting the 6-1 victory tonight. Maybe we'll see a reverse sweep.
Yeah, that lightning was absolutely clutch. ShowTime's gonna have to come through with some more plays like that to continue the dream of the reverse sweep here against the Freaks. As we move on to track number 4, it will be Mine Magma Cavern.
It is ShowTime's chance now to win their first match here in Kartrider Drift League, and also to take out the KWANGDONGFREECS would be such an epic achievement. But they still have trade, and they still have a lot of track left to play here.
I love Cool sacrificing himself just to push Fran off of the edge right there, as Fran, of course, the hero there for ShowTime on the previous track. And as far as item tracks go, Magma Cavern, one of my personal favorites, also one of the most technical tracks here in item mode. There are a lot of tricks that teams can have under their sleeves. There are a lot of narrow passageways like this one right here heading towards the finish line, where exactly as we just saw, that was either Flare or Fran who got caught there for ShowTime. Water balloons, undodgeable from that position unless you have a shield.
There's so many moments where water balloons are strong here, like even on this bridge, right, where you go onto the actual mine track itself. It's so difficult to actually avoid, and actually impossible at certain sections based on the narrow width. So it's a very strong item there. Now, this means defensive items are crucial. World is holding on to 2 of them. Will, of course, get caught here despite that shield. He's got an Angel.
And the same is true also for rockets coming into this one, because everybody's running that balloon that turns the rocket effect into a banana peel effect, and so you spin out. But you can't turn when you're spinning, and there are so many sections of this track, like here, for instance, where if your momentum is carrying you off and you cannot correct, you might just fall into the magma.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. FaZe here, massive lead in terms of his positioning. Look at that picture-in-picture. He is just way up there. He also has a Lightning, which he may just simply want to use for tempo to build that lead, and he will, in fact, do so. I think this is the right call. Try to burn an Angel. Now he's got a shield. He's going to have to use that for the Wisp, but, man, he's in good position here. Right now, UFO also blocked. I mean, this is looking very good. 200 meters to go, and that reverse sweep, it's definitely possible, man. Monster's spinning around. He says this one's done. FaZe with the spin out, but I think he's going to cross it.
Yeah,
and ShowTime bringing us to a 5th.
There was no equalizer there. Oftentimes the magnet is the tool that these teams use to close the distance when one player has a runaway, but FaZe was just uncontested, and the attacks from the flank from Team ShowTime were relentless. Nobody on the Kwangdong Freaks was able to truly close the distance because not only did they not get the magnet, but the attacks just were non-stop there for ShowTime. And we go from a 2-0 lead for the Kwangdong Freaks to now tied 2-2, getting ready to go into track number 5. And Wolf, the dream.
It's alive. And Braun, I mean, he was also in second, right? So you're so far away as FaZe that the only two things that can hit you are a Wisp and a UFO, essentially, and a Lightning, of course, but they didn't have any available, and it isn't going to change the tide of battle too much, right? But then he has the shield for the Wisp, and then he picks up an EMP at the last possible second to then also deny the UFO, and that is just enough to end it, while obviously Braun is blocking for him as best as he can and absorbing the rest of the aggro there. And that buffer is so important if you're going to run this strategy. And it's the first time we've really seen that on that particular track, actually, Magma Caverns there, where you actually are able to get that massive lead and turn it into a like 500, 600 meter lead to win the race. And now we're going to see Clock Tower Crossing. I've never cast this track, I don't think. I don't think it's happened. It's going to be my first time. It's a very basic one. It is going to be very much like Shark's Wake, where there's a lot of fighting happening constantly, non-stop.
Yeah, well, ShowTime, man, they said from the very beginning that their plan here against the Freaks was to win in item mode. It's so difficult for them to beat Titans like the Freaks in speed. And so here for ShowTime, now that you're all tied up 4-4, I mean, you're coming here into your map pick. You just beat the Freaks on their map pick. Perhaps they have some tricks up their sleeves. Perhaps they have a plan. As the Freaks right now, they're checking a replay, I think, of the previous match. I'm not sure exactly what it is that they are checking, but you know, the score right now, 2-2 as it is, unless we have some kind of referee decision. But I do question whether anything happened. I certainly didn't catch anything.
Yeah, so we're going to, off screen, you know, we're going to see, like, I personally didn't see anything that seemed sus, but we're going to keep an eye on what happened here. He's like, for real, you guys are going to review this? We'll see if anything gets caught on from our perspective here as Kwangdong review this, because we don't have the comms. We don't know exactly what is happening. It's not like the previous series where we had a very clear % disconnect into a slam into the wall. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Looks normal to me and what we're watching thus far.
Yeah, sorry that you guys can't see this on air right now. It's just the referee checking exactly what is going on. But I'm not sure, at least from my perspective of casting, I'm not sure exactly what happened that the Freaks are wondering about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what, you know, the potential hang-up might be, but it could have been something that happened off screen, maybe towards the back ranks that we completely missed.
It looks like it's something off of the start here with Flare. They keep looking at Flare's start, where he starts and then goes to pick up 2 items. And I'm not entirely sure what the issue is, but he stays back, grabs 2 nitros, and we keep watching him pick up 2 nitros. So
yeah, I'm not sure what the rule is that the Kwangdong Freaks are checking.
I mean, it might be something about the drop rate of nitro.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm getting the update that he reversed, actually.
Oh, he drove backwards on the track.
Yeah, and
you're allowed to stall
and
turn for 2 items, but perhaps you cannot.
So here's the reason why reverse is illegal in item mode, just to give you guys the update. So Flare actually did an illegal reverse, actually. This is what, so I didn't realize he had actually gone back, but notice that he actually reverses. The reason why this is illegal is because a player could, in theory, stay and camp this item block and then constantly toss lightnings, et cetera, right, throughout the entire race. So that's illegal. So he actually had an illegal reverse, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means it's an auto loss or if it means it's a replay or what's going to happen. Maybe Kwangdong decide they're going to drop the penalty, but we'll let you guys know as soon as possible. But yeah, that is illegal. You cannot drive backwards in item mode because it will allow you to potentially just camp boxes.
Yeah, that was a very good catch either by the Freaks or by the coaching staff to recognize that happened, because, you know, in the moment at the very beginning of the track, I wasn't really paying attention to it, but now that I see the replay, it's very clear. So we're now waiting on what the admin decision will be, as it seems like the Freaks are continuing to discuss as it stands right now. 2-2, potentially going into a track number 5. We'll see what the decision is.
Yeah, we're just waiting on the update for you guys, but we'll have to wait and see what the ruling ultimately is. And seems to be some discussions between the coaching staff and referees. Some disputes on this one, as the angle he took, you know, made it look like, to me, like it was reversed, but it is, it's hard to say. Like, well, you know, this is quite rare, and these are pro players, right, who know the rules, obviously, so.
Yeah, some of these rules can be quite niche. You know, I mean, this is certainly the first time that I have encountered this here at the KDL.
So one thing I noticed is that the reverse indicator didn't come up on his screen. Well, this is from the replay client, right? So if in fact he did reverse, it should have shown the reverse indicator, like you're driving the incorrect direction. I don't know if that shows up in the observing client or not, but that may actually be the deciding factor, is whether or not the game said he went reverse or not. Because if you go backwards, it'll tell you in-game that, hey, you're going the wrong way. There's an indicator for that. That might actually be like the threshold where we decide.
Yeah, there might be a certain margin where, you know, say you pass an extra 1 or 2 meters and then that indicator pops up and it's like, okay, this is officially a reverse, and it's an issue.
Yeah, that's I think that, like, that's probably, like, ultimately going to be the deciding factor, I guess. Because the angle he took was very, like, it was very diagonal, right? And it seemed very well thought out the way you want to take it, so he wasn't reversing, but.
Right, I mean, if he wanted to, he could have just gone full 180 and then go back and get 2 items and then go, but still the issue with it is, or I shouldn't say the issue, but what makes it such a complicated decision is the fact that he did move past those items and then move maybe 1, maybe 2 meters back to collect 2 more. So I'm not sure exactly what the technicality is of the rule, what the nuance is, and I think that's going to be the determining factor that the referee uses to make his decision.
Exactly, because like if you're actually moving backwards, is that reverse if the game doesn't give you the warning of you are going in reverse? Like, I think that's probably going to be really ultimately the dispute. And if anyone's going, well, this wasn't that important, he picked up 2 nitros and then rushed back in, and it wasn't actually a deciding factor in the race. These rules still have to be enforced.
Rules matter.
Yeah,
rules matter.
If you start wondering, like, well, if it doesn't affect the outcome of a race, do we enforce it? Then why do rules exist, right? So like this is actually very serious, and I'm glad you point out, like, the KWANGDONGFREECS coach, who's the most famous coach, right, in KDL right now, and has his own, like, vlogs and stuff he's doing. He's always involved, and he's got a good eye, right? He's always here in the studio. He watches live, sometimes actually from the audience, and he's making a statement on this one, and the referees will have to review it, and we'll see what is ultimately decided. As I want to, like, I don't mind when this type of discussion goes long, because this ruling may actually affect the regular KDL like this. So, you know, this is important. This is why we do preseasons, right? These types of scenarios aren't always foreseen. You make a ruling here. Now we know what happens when this happens in real KDL in a few months' time later this year.
Yeah, and precedent does exist in these kind of games. I mean, say, for instance, if the referee's like, okay, this is not officially a reverse because the reverse indicator did not come up on the screen. Well, now suddenly we might have a change in the meta where you might have racers doing exactly this move intentionally all of the time. It could be a meta-defining moment, and I love that you said this is the preseason. This is where we're ironing out the kinks of this new game before we head into the first official regular season of the KDL preseason. And it's important that these discussions take place between the referees, between the players, between the coaches, because ultimately this will decide how these encounters and how the meta is going to evolve over the course of the rest of the history of this game.
Yeah. This is wild, too, because, you know, it's right off the starting gates as well. It wasn't used in a way to be abusive, as we'll watch again.
Yeah, so Flair, you can see that he is past the items. He goes back maybe 1, maybe 2 meters to pick up 2 boxes and then proceeds with a nitrous. And so it seems like the holdup is, or not the holdup, but the discussion between the administrators, the referees,
and the
coaches.
Coaching staff, right? Yeah, and, like, I look at this and I go, well, he has clearly gone backwards, but he did not reverse, like he didn't drive his cart backwards, nor did he drive directly against Trek. He went diagonally. So that's the line we have to draw, because factually, as you said, he went back several meters. Like, he did pass them. And so if it means that you can't go back in any way, then that also affects other things. Like, for example, what if you intentionally hit a wall to then back up, you know, and you didn't actually turn? Like, there's a lot that goes into this, right? So this is a very important decision for the future of KDL.
I hadn't actually considered that.
There are other ways to actually go back and repeatedly grab items. It's not something that you want to ever have be a thing in item mode, because then one player's job just becomes to spam boxes, and that is a way to ruin the competitive integrity, right? Which is why this rule of no reverse is in place.
I mean, even if the competitive integrity is held because both teams would be doing a strategy like that, it doesn't make for a good viewing experience.
Exactly.
It takes away from a meta that is evolving in a way that makes it more interesting time after time. I mean, KDL Preseason 1, item mode was very much about the wombo combo there at the end of every single track. Here in KDL Preseason 2, it's become a lot more dynamic. Now we're seeing strategies that you implement on some tracks but not on others. Now we're seeing strategies where one player tries to break away, and the higher generation rates of attacks coming in means that the team is actually able to defend that racer. And so, you know, keeping the meta shifting in a good way by enforcing rules is part of the job, because I mean, at the end of the day, we are putting on a show.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And we have to
ShowTime.
agree with a rule set that is going to be the healthiest for the game, the healthiest for the community, the healthiest for the esport. And so the discussion is continuing to take place, I think, between the coaches, the players, and the staff.
Yeah, that's as far as we know. Now, we'll see what the decision is ultimately.
Waiting to hear from our producers on exactly what the decision is going to be here from the referee, as it seems like they might have reached one.
Yeah, so they may have come to a agreement. We won't give the official ruling until it is officially given to us, but still discussing as far as I know. And at the end of the day, like, even if there's going to be a punishment, like what is the punishment? Is it a regame? Is it a warning? You know, who knows? We are saying the race will stand, and the referee says it's not an illegal move. We're moving on to Village Clock Tower Crossing.
All right, track number 5 here, Village Clock Tower Crossing. It all comes down to this, Wolf. Let's go. Just to make sure everyone has their bearings, we are tied 2-2 here between the Freaks and ShowTime. The Kwangdong Freaks, they won speed mode, so one track win here will be a 2-0 victory for him. However, should ShowTime win this track, we will go to an ace match after this.
And it will be the first ace match for ShowTime in their careers here in the KDL, and I'd love to see it, but they're going to have to win this one first, right? And you know, we've had a little bit of spice tonight, haven't we, here at KDL?
It's been an interesting day, man. I mean, we had that disconnect in the previous series, which, I mean, the referees made absolutely the perfect call.
That's huge.
Both Cool and Fran collide in midair there.
It's actually,
both of them drop off.
It's going to limit how many players are actually up here in the front. It's going to take a really long time for those two to catch up. They're now going to be essentially supporters at the back, and this gives a huge lead to Flair and Monster. Now Flair can play the defender here. FaZe is up here as well. I think this actually, based on where the positions were, heavily favors ShowTime, and they were the ones who set that up to get Cool to fall down there. He's catching up now here, gets into top 4, but you can see there's a large distance now between Spear and Monster.
Yeah, I don't know exactly who that was on the Freaks that went through the attack on Monster, but they did a great job of navigating that one as Monster was almost out of range. We're able to connect with him, pop one shield, but still, he is continuing to race away. And looking at the minimap right now, the players here on ShowTime just continue to increase in distance, and although Fran does get swiped there and will spin out, Monster's continuing to go, blows through these barricades, and Cool right now 4 seconds behind.
And now Monster is able to pick up double shields here. Cool denied an item box here, gets a magnet, but only gets one item and is instantly denied. And this is really rough. I mean, the distance for Monster is huge. He has double shields, and it's really only a UFO that can bring him down. World's holding one. He's going to toss it out now. Monster going to eat that, but he's still got a shield. He's got a banana. World also hit. This might just be too much of a lead here, State.
Yeah, it's a very big lead right now for Monster. He still has one shield in the bag, and looking at the inventory right now for the Kwangdong Freaks, they are scrambling. They do have that one lightning bolt, but the distance might be too great. Only 400 meters to go, and Monster is going to cross the finish line as they come through with a victory here, and ShowTime complete the dream of the reverse sweep here in item mode. They said that their plan from the beginning They know they can't beat the Kwangdong Freaks in a team match, in a 4v4 in speed, but they knew they could contest them here in Item, and they did it, man.
I think that was the best teamwork we've seen from this roster just yet, and you could see that once the pressure is off, once they feel like, I can do this, we are going to actually accomplish this, they're just playing better. And the experience that Kwangdong has over them, we know that's always going to be there. And if they both play for 5 more years of both these rosters, Kwangdong would still have the experience advantage, right? But you look at when the pressure is off, when these guys are feeling pumped, when they're feeling good, they are playing well. The question now, though, becomes, in ShowTime's first ace match, who will they send out here? I also wanted to give one final update on our last issue we got, which was that the official rule is that if you use any sort of exploit or anything that's against what the regulations are for a part of a strategy, it can be considered okay. That's what I was told officially. So that's the official ruling on that, why the referee said it was a strategical move. Definitely one that that will definitely cause some controversy and will be talked about for days to come, but that was the official ruling. Just wanted to say that for once, because we didn't actually get to the full reasoning for the referee there, because we jumped right into the track. But moving to the ace match now, I mean, for the side of Kwangdong Freeks, both World and Cool have proven themselves so many times in these critical moments. And I think World was given a lot of chances in Preseason 1. He delivered. My money's on him right now. But, you know, the Kwangdong coaching staff is going to have to decide who they think he might match up against and what that matchup is going to look like. It's just hard to know what ShowTime is going to do here because they haven't been able to play teams very close just yet.
Yeah, it's hard to make the decision here for ShowTime, but really, the Freaks, it feels like any player on their roster, if they were to send them out into that ace match, they can deliver a win, right? I mean, this is a team that, up until this point, identified as 1 speed ace and 3 runners because their speed prowess is simply that great. And for ShowTime, really, this is them going through the gauntlet right now, a 1v1 against potentially the best racer in the world here of the FREECS as we move on. It's going to be World Tour Terracotta Twister is the ace track. Yeah. What a track to finish this thing off on.
This gets wild, too, on Terracotta. I love when ace matches are here. Now, expectation is World for Kwangdong Freeks. Ghost is the speed ace, and it will be him.
Yeah.
They have chosen to come out here, and this is like one of the most successful players in Kart Rider Drift in World, who did fantastic in solos, of course, who's on the defending champions for team, against Ghost, who's a new rising player here. It is going to be so exciting to see if he can upset here. This would be huge. Kwangdong Freeks losing to ShowTime in their first loss of the season? That might happen. It's down to 1 race here.
It could be the biggest upset here of KDL Preseason 2 as we get ready to go into the deciding match. The winner of this track will win it all. Let's go to World Tour Terracotta Twister.
One last track of Terracotta Twister to decide the match between Kwangdong Freeks and ShowTime. ShowTime with the reverse sweep in item. Kwangdong Freeks crushing 3-1 in speed. And now, will World win another ace here? He's behind right now Ghost in this 2-lap track of Terracotta.
Behind Ghost right now, but ahead in Nitrous. And keep in mind, that drab can come through in the clutch. He's right behind Ghost. Actually seems like this might be where he wants to play, is to just keep Ghost under pressure, make him go for the dangerous build, make him try to feel like he has to make something happen to pull away from World here. As you just see on the left side, World consistently a fraction of a second ahead on that second Nitrous ahead of Ghost here. It seemed like for a moment there, World would try to go for that tight inner. Ghost was able to zone him out, but as of yet, no real mistakes on either side.
Great reaction there from Ghost, though, to see the inner attempt and block it, but now you're starting to see World. He drafts here, then pushes ahead. Now Ghost, again, behind in Nitro. You mentioned it earlier. It's about a 1/4 of a Nitro boost behind that he is, so this means World will essentially have an extra boost when we get to that final part of the second lap, and World is so fantastic at holding on to these leads in ace matches. He is a hard nut to crack, and you see Ghost is trying to find angles. Now, when we move into the inner part of this track, if you make a mistake, that's it, the race is done. If you try to cut across, World blocks you, you fall off. that's it. It's done. So, oh, whoa!
What a play there by Ghost, taking the tighter line. World thought he was going to be able to body block, but just barely missed it by a hair, and now Ghost is in the lead here, entering the inner tunnel. Let's see if both players are able to navigate these turns carefully. It's very precarious here. One mistake could spell disaster as World able to close the distance now right behind Ghost. And look at the nitrous gauges. They're completely tied.
Yeah, Ghost taking some inefficient turns here as well, and World's going to pass him. 5 minutes to go. No! What a choke! What a choke! Ghost is going to do it!
Goodness! World to the wall, and Ghost, the rookie! ShowTime, they have yet to win a match here in the KDL preseason, and they do it against the reigning champions!
Oh, Ghost!
What an upset!
I mean, he had some inefficient turns there, and World was actually going straight corner to corner diagonal. He was being more efficient. He passed, but he just hits the wall. He just straight runs into the wall. He just absolutely tosses that win away, and Ghost, he's not going to make a mistake. He's going to capitalize. He's going to win. And what a crazy circumstance. You can't be 10 out of 10 every night, Kwangdong Freaks, and tonight it's going to be ShowTime, the first team to defeat him here in Preseason 2. I had no idea walking into today that we were going to see an upset win here. I didn't think it was possible. I just couldn't even imagine it. You and I were saying we got 2 close series, and then Kwangdong probably absolutely crush, right? They're the ones who lose ultimately here to ShowTime, and they take their first win of the season against the defending champions. Can't write a better story than this for these rookie players.
And you could just see the emotion there on Ghost's face. This has to be one of the pinnacle moments of his kart rider career so far. It seems like he is in disbelief, but man, you just did that here on the biggest stage, KDL Preseason. Kart rider players around the world always dream of playing on this stage, and you just took down in a 1v1 ace match the undefeated Kwangdong Freaks.
I gotta see too. I gotta see a replay of this one because it just seemed, unless I'm missing something, it just seemed like a huge error. You know, it didn't seem like this was, I mean, Ghost's initial pass was massive. As we got baited, I thought we were going to see a replay. Because Ghost's initial pass, right, that was incredible. He played that so well off of the jump, and then the attempted block from World wasn't good enough. He passed him there, but then World took way better corner-to-corner turns in the inner parts there on the final part of the lap, but then hit the wall, and that's the end of that. I mean, we have seen these ace matches in the past. We've seen Neil choke, for example, and have a poor collision to cost him the race. We've seen collision in the early parts of the first lap. As we are taking a look at the replay on our screens, man, they're just doing this to us today, where they show us and you guys don't get to see.
Wow, what an incredible race, though. What an incredible story here for ShowTime, a team that coming into today was yet to put a win on the board, and now you've done it against the reigning champions, one of the most storied, if not the most storied team in kart rider history. The Kwangdong Freaks, excuse me, as Ghost coming up against World in what might be the biggest upset here of the preseason.
Of
certainly
both preseasons,
preseason 1 or preseason 2 with, I mean, these up-and-coming teams. I mean, Ghost, the speed ace, everything on the line, just comes through in the clutch for his team. And what a storybook Cinderella ending.
Oh. We're getting a very strange update. I will let you guys know what we are told. Apparently there was a client issue.
Yeah, what's...
Huh.
I see the players packing up their keyboards. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is right now. Referees are discussing again. Huh. Oh my goodness, Wolf. My heart can't take this.
I can't. This series is just wild. I mean, we went from the craziest upset to, after like a crazy pause, illegal reverse, to, okay, now we're being told that this is going to be rematched.
Yeah, we're getting confirmation from our producing staff now that there will be a rematch. There apparently might have been some PC problem, perhaps, on World's computer. This is...
So, okay, so let's talk about this, because actually I was wondering about this.
Wow.
Remember that off of the jump, when the swap happened and we were like, wow, World actually couldn't get the block and Ghost outplayed him? In that moment, both carts were on top of each other, right? And the way that they interacted with each other was like, they just kind of pushed apart from each other. That gave a lead to World, but that has, I mean, ultimately that was not what decided the race, right? I mean, what decided the race was the final moments there, which we didn't get a replay of. So the cars didn't actually push away from each other. They were like overlaid on top of each other, and then essentially instead of pushing each other away or like bouncing off, they just kind of went through each other, which is, I think, part of the game, because if you end up colliding on top of each other like that, it's one of the ways for the game to correct it. But I'm not that technically versed on like these types of collisions myself.
Man, I'm kind of at a loss for words right now.
Yeah.
You know, my heart is breaking for ShowTime and for Ghost, as that was a tremendous race, but
I mean, this is tonight's Kart Raider match will go down in history. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what right now, State. This is going to be one for the history books.
I mean, especially this particular series between ShowTime and the Freaks, right? I mean, what an insane story from start to finish. The drama of, you know, the item mode restart that occurred earlier today, and now potentially a rematch between these two players. As it sounds like what we're hearing is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
When these two cars, when they do overlay, that should lead to a situation where there is a collision, but there in fact was none. And yeah, like I'm like you. I mean, I don't know exactly what the technicalities of the rules are in these cases, but
it looked like an outplay from Ghost, or sorry, yeah, from Ghost. But like, we're gonna watch it again, and it looked like it was off of a jump, but it's actually right before the turn. It's like off. Okay, so it's after this turn, and then there's a bit of a bounce, right? We're watching it on our screens, and I hate to do this to you guys because, you know, it's unfortunate that like you can't see this, but
I'm hoping they're preparing the replay to actually show on stream to solidify the decision.
Yeah,
it's been a tumultuous. It's been a tumultuous day. I mean, even for myself personally, I need to see this replay and have the rule explained clearly to truly understand what is happening here. Is you can just see on ShowTime's faces just disbelief, really. And Ghost, I mean, they go from the high of having beaten one of the best racers in the world and secured your team's first victory here on the professional stage in the KDL Preseason, and then to learn that you might potentially need to be going back into a rematch. I can only imagine what he is going through emotionally right now. And from there, is a rookie who's trying to put your mark on the scene. How do you go from that high and that low and then back into the competitive environment that is a 1v1 ace match with the right mindset that can deliver a win?
Yeah. And, you know, it's on this strange technicality that's out of your control. It's not your fault. Looks like we're going to come back on camera here, but
yeah, I don't know if an official decision has yet been made. We have heard that there might be a rematch, and the referees are still exactly trying to figure out what happened here, but
so like the situation is quite complicated, but it is what it is, and we're gonna let you guys know as soon as we get the decision. But it looks like, you know, this is going to be reviewed for a while. We may need some additional time. It's wild, man.
It's been a crazy night.
Look, to me, historically, you know, across esports, when something like this happens, you gotta like, you know, I don't know if we're going to a break or not, but
yeah, I'm not sure either. I think we're staying on for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying.
I was just gonna say, like, normally when something like this happens in esports, it's like really unfortunate, right? And like these things do happen, right? So bear with us. I'm sorry you guys have to wait, and like we're not 100% sure what the result of this ultimately will be, but thank you guys for being patient for us. And the ruling has been made.
Okay.
No rematch, actually.
All right, it's been confirmed.
Okay, now this is relieving. This is relieving to me because, look, if you want a rematch on this, you got to call a pause, right? Like, you got to call a pause when it happens. You can't retroactively say, I don't know. I actually think this was the right call, personally.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I mean, it's a kind of situation where, I mean, it's a part of the game, frankly, right? And ShowTime, they got the better of it. Ghost raced incredibly well, and I don't want any of this to take away from the story that is ShowTime coming through here in the absolute clutch. And one of the most phenomenal races that we've seen here at the KDL Preseason, not only from, you know, the tumultuous drama of potentially having a rematch or having decisions being made that could potentially affect the future of the KDL preseason and how rules are decided. For example, going back a couple of meters to try and pick up additional items, how that was approached. And the real story for me here tonight is
ShowTime beat KWANGDONGFREECS. That's the real story.
In one of the most incredible upsets, not only of KDL Preseason 2, but of KDL to this date. It's just an absolute Cinderella story, and hopefully this is something that will become a turning point for this team as ShowTime. I mean, we knew that the potential was always there for these guys, the rookies that are coming on stage, and the first time that you're competing on stage here with a live audience, with casters, with many people watching you back at home, I mean, their family is supporting them, their friends are supporting them, their entire community is watching them. To come through here and deliver a win at last against the KWANGDONGFREECS, no less, is nothing short of a miracle, and Ghost raced incredibly well. They stuck to the plan. They said, we can't beat the Freaks in team match speed. And certainly, I mean, they made a good effort of it, but the Freaks, let's be frank, they outmuscled them. Their mechanics were so strong, especially on Zigzag Timberland. But then you go to the ace match, you secure item mode, beautiful stuff.
It was the complete turnaround of the team's mentality, right, that you could feel in the reverse sweep. Like, they played more confidently, they played more aggressively, and they took, obviously, a track of speed as well, so that's impressive in itself, right? I think KWANGDONGFREECS may be underestimating them a little bit here. And I'm not saying this win means that there's something going to rocket through to postseason, but it's a huge momentum shift. It's going to be a night these players will never forget, and no one could ever take this win away from Ghost, I think, as he is ultimately able to win it. And despite, a little bit of a delay there, his record will stand, his win will stand in the ace match. So it's going to be one of those nights where wow, we really did it. We actually beat this team in item mode. We actually won the ace match against World, one of the world's best kart rider drift racers, who's been in countless ace matches and has won almost all of them, if not all of them, in fact. So, I mean, you've got to be feeling good if you're the side of ShowTime. If you're a KWANGDONG fan, you're a little bit frustrated with the loss, but it's still a long season. It's your first loss of the season, and you could definitely bounce back from this.
I mean, they're certainly going to go to the postseason, and I would be surprised if the Freaks did not make it. And, for ShowTime, they might not be able to make it to the postseason as we get a look at the match results for the day. I mean, coming in from a pretty poor start, but here beating the KWANGDONGFREECS, it's got to feel so good. And overall, just fantastic matches from start to finish. I mean, this is one of the most exciting days of KDL preseason that I have casted thus far, with Liv Sandbox here defeating Aura 2-0. Speed was an incredibly close match. Love to see it. 3-2 and a 3-1 win in item.
Yeah, and the item mode was pretty close too. A lot of those could have really gone either way. But in the last few seconds were decided by Liv Sandbox, so we didn't get to see that ace match there. But pretty impressive stuff from these two squads, and it was a series where you feel pretty good if you're a Liv Sandbox fan about the return to form and item. Sungnam Rocks taking out Sensation here in what was also a pretty wild and back and forth match in speed, but item mode a little bit more one-sided there for Sungnam Rocks. Sensation not able to take it there, and ends up being another 2-0.
Yeah, Sungnam Rocks remaining undefeated. Them and Liv Sandbox, the only two teams that have been yet to lose a set here in the KDL preseason as we can continue on with a round-robin format. And Sensation, they've been looking really good. They're still contesting that top 4 spot because, of course, Aura also lost their match. So Aura right now sitting at 2-2 overall in their sets. Sensation at 1-2. Definitely both teams in striking distance of making playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really pivotal match for Sensation, that they really wanted to take. There's still a chance for them to make that playoff run, but it's a little bit tougher now. We'll have to see the remaining schedule for them. And ShowTime, man, this is a screen nobody expected to see today. ShowTime taking out KWANGDONGFREECS, and in dramatic fashion, right, with the 3-2 reverse sweep and item, and then winning that ace match where, World outplayed Ghost multiple times, but it wasn't able to cross the finish line first. And that's how it goes, man. Ghost, he got you. He got you.
He bent, but he never broke. And he just was able to deliver in the clutch. And you could see that World, he felt the pressure there at the final lap and went for a greedy play, was unable to make it happen. And just fantastic stuff here from ShowTime. And although right now ShowTime, they're sitting at 1-3 overall in the season, that might be out of, it's most likely out of postseason contention overall here as we look at the overall standings.
Yeah, I mean, look at ShowTime jumping ahead of Potential and Seraphic with this win. Obviously, they've played an additional game, so it's possible, especially with a round differential, for potential to pass ShowTime if they also win their next matchup. But, I mean, it's just very cool to see ShowTime actually popping off here and beating what was, until now, our #1 team in the standings, KWANGDONGFREECS, dropping back to third here. Now Live Sandbox firmly the only undefeated team at 4-0.
Yeah, and for ShowTime, I mean, that's got to be a big momentum builder here. You got to be feeling so much more confident to finally come here on stage. You lose your first 3 matches, but then at last, you deliver a win in one of the most stunning ways possible. I mean, that was an exciting ace match from start to finish, and one of my personal favorites so far here in the KDL preseason too. Is hopefully for this team, this will be a turning point and something they look back on potentially in the regular season later on in this year as the moment where they knew that they had it together as a team, and they could start to grow together and potentially reach the playoffs.
You know, potential, we talked about they need to win that next match to pass them, but it's against ShowTime, right? And now this makes it even more of a rivalry between those two at the bottom side. If ShowTime can beat KWANGDONGFREECS, they should, in theory, be able to beat Potential too. So once you win 2 in a row, that momentum really starts rolling. So fairly easy schedule here for ShowTime in their 2 matches, or rather a ease up of schedule after this really first tough win. Then Sensation will go up against Seraphic. Now that's a win Sensation really needs to take if they want to go to playoffs. You lose this one and your chances drop substantially.
Following that, we will have solo match round of 16, match #1 with Cool Sungbin Hyunsu World, Ding and Neil Jordan. That is a stacked, round of 16. Holy cow.
That is super stacked.
I want to see the other group there in the round of 16 because I don't feel like it gets much stronger than that. I mean, I guess Jung is not in that group, but that is a star-studded lineup.
It's crazy, man. We have an amazing round of 16, so I'm looking forward to it no matter what. But thank you guys for watching. Today was our triple team day. We will see you guys again for more Kart Rider Drift Preseason 2 on the weekend.